Welcome everyone to the Monarchy podcast. This is our first podcast of this year, 2021. Today we have Jim and David from General Estimating Contracting Services. And I think that this would be a really good one for everyone to watch because we are going to get the construction aspect in a way of a claim. And I think that's one of the most important things that really we have to look at, because you guys have an idea of what it is to actually put the property back to a pre-loss condition. It's not just like we were discussing earlier, writing an estimate. It's writing an estimate and actually doing the work in a sense. So before I go on, though, I'm going to allow you guys to go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
You want to go first?
Yeah, my name is David Vecchio, and I've been in this business since 2003.
Okay.
I started in chasing hailstorms in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
Doing roofs and siding and gutters, and came to Florida in 2004. Worked as an adjuster.
Okay.
For Allstate, and then around 2005, 2006, I decided to become a public adjuster, and I spent about 8 years as a public adjuster down here in Florida.
Okay.
Working Hurricane Wilma, Charlie, Francis, Gene, all of the 2004, 2005 hurricane storms. And then in 2011, I got my contractor's license.
Okay.
And opened up general estimating and contracting, and started doing construction and claims consulting. Excellent.
And what about you, Jim?
I actually started down here. I was in the trucking business. I had a trucking business and got into construction, working for a construction company, and was moonlighting writing estimates for a public adjuster. And then when David got his contractor's license, I had made some contacts with some attorneys and things like that. So we started doing the consulting business and doing construction, and kind of here we are today. It's grown a lot faster than I ever thought.
Yeah,
for sure. A lot of contacts, a lot of good people.
But you guys, for the most part, have stayed in projects that revolve around claims, right?
Yes and no. We just finished a remodeling job that had nothing to do with insurance.
Okay.
And we don't do a lot of those, but we do. And we've done full restoration projects, which come to roof, to rebuilding the interior. And then we also do a lot of windows and doors. I used to be in that business. So I get a lot of referrals.
Gotcha. And if you don't mind telling me, how difficult was it to become a contractor? Is it a long process? How does one become a contractor?
Yeah, I just went through all the classes in 2020.
Okay.
One good thing to come out of 2020.
Okay.
And it's 3 tests.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. Has COVID made it any easier?
More difficult.
More difficult.
Yeah, I started in January, and they closed all the testing sites down, and I went through a school that specializes in it. And you meet a lot of people that have been in the business a long time, and the tests are tough. They're open book, but it's 15 books.
Wow.
And you got to know how to navigate them. It's timed. It's Pearson View.
Gotcha.
And so I was able to get through all the tests, and now we're just waiting for the license to come through.
That's actually something that I'm looking into doing myself, just because I depose a lot about our estimates. Is that the reason why you got into it, David?
Yeah, when I decided to get my contractor's license, I was doing a lot of appraisals, and one of the umpires that I did a lot of work with inspired me to get my contractor's license, and I spent maybe 6 months studying and going through the classes in the school. And when I took it, I had to take 4 tests. And there were 30 books. Oh, my test was harder.
Little competition there.
Yeah, and actually it was 2 tests that you took on a computer, Pearson View Center, and then you had to take 2 tests in like this convention center and down here in Miami. And the tests was 2 tests. It was started at 7:00 in the morning, and I didn't finish till 8:00 at night.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah, you had a little break for lunch.
And what about an apprenticeship? Is there like an apprenticeship period that you have to do, or?
So there's there's requirements. The state, you could have 4 different qualifications. So if you have a 4-year degree in construction management, engineering, as long as you pass the test, you can qualify to get your license.
Gotcha.
If you have a 2-year degree in any discipline, could be computer science, psychology, but it's a 2-year degree, you would need that degree along with 2 years as a construction foreman or project manager. And a licensed contractor's got to sign an affidavit and say that you worked with them.
Gotcha.
Or you could have 4 years as a project manager, no schooling, and have the contractor sign off on your license.
And your license. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. And what is the basis of your work right now? Not the basis, but what do you guys do the most at the moment? Because from adjusting to construction to consulting.
Good question. I'm doing a lot of appraisals right now.
Okay.
A lot of appraisals throughout the state, and we do a lot of
Carrier? Or
no, we don't do any carrier appraisals at this time.
Okay.
That could change as
Yeah.
of this week. But mainly all assignments, and that's come up recently too, where I'm sure you've dealt with this, where the carrier won't let you as the PA be the appraiser.
Correct.
So that has come up where we're getting assignments to be the true independent appraiser.
Okay.
Mainly either from the legal community, from a judge,
Oh, wow. Okay.
or assigned by an attorney or a PA.
Gotcha. And you, David, you're also focusing on appraisals?
No, I stepped away from the appraisals, and Jimmy's much better at the appraisals than me. He likes the
Back and forth? And
yeah, he likes
the negotiation
that.
aspect?
I'm more the mechanic. I like sitting down and doing estimating. I do a lot of the expert witness trial testimony.
Okay. Those are fun, right?
Yeah, it's the first few depositions are nerve wracking, but once you I think I've got 40 depositions under my belt, so yeah. But you still have to be on your toes, and it's that I like more than the back and forth of the appraisal process.
Gotcha. I have to agree with Jim. Sorry. Well, you called him Jimmy. I hope I can too. I prefer the appraisal aspect versus being, sitting in front of an attorney and being drilled with questions.
Yeah, it's I like it. A lot of the guys have called it the gentleman's sport, and it is for the most part. I try to focus on the 95% good. There's been some rough ones, I'm sure, as sure as you know.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're finding a solution.
Yeah.
You're getting it done. It's a little bit faster than going through. It's still not super fast. It can be. As you know, I've had some take over a year.
Yeah.
Get pretty complicated. Some of them you're done in 2 weeks.
Correct.
But it brings a solution to the homeowner, I think, a little bit faster.
What about umpire work? Is that something that you guys have done, or?
Yeah, I've done several umpires. Did a couple quarter-pointed umpire. Jimmy's been selected a few times in Panhandle.
Yeah, for some reason I'm getting them in the Panhandle
Really?
in Jacksonville. Yeah.
Okay. For our viewers and for those that don't really know what the appraisal process is and what an umpire is in appraisal, appraisal is basically a reevaluation of your claim. It's a process that the policy allows you to invoke if you cannot come to an agreement in the claim, in a sense. Once you go to appraisal, if both appraisers, the carrier's appraiser and your appraiser, cannot agree, then you have to attend to an umpire or go to an umpire, in a sense. And the umpire is a person that has the final say in the claim. So
it's 2 out of 3 signatures. So if there's 2 out of
correct. The final say in the sense that they write the estimate and they, they're the ones that are going to provide a value. And then if at least 2 of the parties agree, of the 3 parties agree, then it's a binding award. So thank you for that. So tell me a little bit about how your construction experience helps you guys come up with or settle claims and come up with these valuations. How do you think that that's an advantage to, the claim process?
Maybe I'll start on that, and you can. You're taking your real world experience, and obviously you're running into how many different situations you're running into with claims. You haven't had personal experience with everything.
Yeah.
You just haven't. But you're taking that, okay, hey, this estimating software, there's no way you could do this for this price. Well, what is missing? Sometimes if you dig a little bit deeper, you'll find that there's other line items that go with it.
Yeah.
I think we're getting kind of industry specific, but line items that go with it, it makes you dig a little bit deeper, or, okay, this is a little bit way outside of what it would cost. It's way too high. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen too much. It's more, what do you got to add in, or how are we going to get this job done?
Yeah.
And that really helps. And you're constantly evolving, constantly changing, constantly learning.
Do you guys as contractors have to be aware constantly? Well, I'm assuming, but I'm still going to ask the question. Constantly aware of the changes in the Florida building code and seeing how that applies also to the claims?
That's a rabbit hole. Yeah. It's not just the Florida building code. It's what's being enforced in what area. And that can be really difficult. And that gets into law and ordinance and the policies and going back to appraisal. What one building official is enforcing or wanting, the guy in the next municipality is not.
Yeah.
That job is different. And that, even forget about a claim, just bidding a job.
Yeah.
That it can be very difficult sometimes. The same job, across the highway.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different. So that can be difficult. And we've learned a lot dealing with building inspectors. And there's people in this business that have been building inspectors.
Yeah.
There's actually somebody in this business that does what we do, but a little bit deeper.
Okay.
He was on the board, and he was on making the building codes. And I asked him, I says, how do you know? And he says, you can't know everything. He says, you got to be aware. He says, you got to know where to look when the time comes. But
as I understand it, the Florida building code is basically the basis. And then from there, as in different municipalities, things become either more strict but never,
there's some ambiguity in there going back to policies. Like an insurance policy, there's a little bit of ambiguity in there too, or interpretation.
Yeah.
And you might interpret it one way, but that building official may interpret it differently. Or when they approve that and give you that building permit, the inspector coming out may not like it, and he may have changes.
Yeah.
We did. What about that bathroom we did a year ago? It was a year ago. The building department required the specs on all the plumbing fixtures, and our plumber, who was our sub, was like, I've never even heard of that before. And the building department came back and said, well, there's a big problem lately because all these people want these European fixtures.
Okay.
And they don't comply with the building code. So some contractors were actually manipulating the fixtures and screwing things up, creating a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So now that building department, because of those issues, has now started to require that all the fixtures meet the code.
Gotcha.
Well,
Before they really wouldn't get the specs from the manufacturer.
Yeah.
So things like that where they kind of like, even a plumber that's doing it every day is like, I don't even know. I've never even heard of this before.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm sure. I mean, it's so many different components too, and so many things that you have to attend to that it's hard to keep up with, with everything that's changing as far as like the laws and what's required.
Fees too. Fees can change from the same job in Miami-Dade and say City of Miami Shores. Same exact thing could be 3 times the cost in fees as it is, say, in Lauderhill.
I'm glad you bring that up, Jim, and I'm going to put you here on the spot. I don't know if you want, I don't know if you want to discuss this or not, but I'll throw it out there.
Okay.
As far as permitting fees go, I hear that it's supposed to be calculated as a percentage of the job. Is that a true statement, or is how does that work? Let's talk about like Miami-Dade, for example.
Yeah. Well, each municipality, if you go online, they'll have a fee schedule. Okay.
So it's not a percentage of the job, it is?
Yeah, it's usually a percentage of the permitted work.
Okay.
So, but then it could also be the total job, and then some people it's the cost of the job,
So it's in a case-by-case basis.
case by case.
It is, and they'll have a percentage, but they'll also have fixed fees that
Right.
go and get applied to, and then other variable fees. So yeah, there is a percentage, but then there's other fees on top of that. So to say, okay, I've got a $10,000 job and 3%, 2%, some cities are 4%.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the bathroom we just did, there was the 2%, and then the electrical and plumbing had their own fees. So there was the 2% of the permitted work, and then plus you had
Plus that.
flat fees for the electrical and plumbing permit.
Gotcha.
So, at the end of the day, it's incurred, whatever's incurred, but you can estimate. Usually I'll do 2%, and then figure some room for permit running and time and expense.
Gotcha. And since we are in the permit world, do people have to pull permits for interior renovations that do not require electrical or plumbing? For example, if I'm painting or installing a tile floor, is that something that technically somebody has to pull a permit for?
Well,
Depends on the municipality. So floors, no permits are needed for flooring.
but if you're in a condo, a flooring guy called me yesterday, Baker, and he asked me, they're just a laminate floor installer. They do carpeting, engineered wood. And you don't usually need a permit for that, but he's working in a condo in Fort Lauderdale, and the condo association is requiring him to pull a permit.
Okay.
And he called me and was like, I never heard of this before. And he's asking me about it. And I was like, yeah, you're going to have to, they probably want to make sure, because it's a condo, that you have the whisper mat,
Okay.
and that you're not screwing or drilling into the slab.
Gotcha. The whisper mat is like an underlayment, is it cork?
No, it's
Can be.
I don't even know the material, but it's a product. It's almost like laying a roll of felt down.
Gotcha. Okay.
And usually it gets glued. So you'll have the whisper mat material that goes down first. It'll be glued down, and then you'll lay the tile, or you'll put the wood product down.
Gotcha.
But like for a condo, if you're gonna install solid wood flooring, usually you'll have 2 layers of subfloor, because the first layer of plywood, since you can't screw into the slab, that has to be glued down. So you gotta glue down the whisper mat, then glue down the first layer of plywood, then a second layer of plywood that the solid wood flooring is gonna get nailed to.
Gotcha.
So
That's like about a good 3-4 inches there of just underlayment plus the floor.
So
Yeah.
then you take that back to appraisal. If they didn't have that before, but now it's required, does that go under law and ordinance? Does it go under the dwelling, because that's what's required to do the job? And that's where it gets.
And that's where I'm going to call you. And hey, Jim, what do you think about this?
Yeah,
And, can we?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's the cost to replace it, right? It's the replacement cost.
Yeah.
Not to get too far in the weeds, but to me, that's debatable, right? Because the cost to replace it then versus the cost to replace it today, that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
Depreciation, ACV. I think law and ordinance is more of an issue. Is like, hey, we weren't expecting to have to do the electrical in the house, but because we're doing X, Y, and Z, now it's involved.
Correct.
But if the flooring was the claim, that's essentially just the cost to replace it today.
Yeah. That's a good point.
That's
a good point. So, but I'm sure, I mean, it gets real tricky.
Yeah.
It can, yeah, it can.
Oh man. Let's get back to claims, since I just wanted to touch base on just the permits, because a lot of clients ask those questions, and I am not a contractor, so I wouldn't know how to answer it. But again, I guess to summarize, I guess it's based on the specific scenario that client is in, whether it's a condo, a home, and the municipalities and all that good stuff. Jim, David, how do you guys bring value to PAs and to plaintiff attorneys? I can ask that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So we do work for a lot of plaintiffs' attorneys, some defense attorneys as well, and some insurance companies.
Okay.
We're not the first call. So homeowner's never going to call us, right? We always I've gotten some, well, I got a claim or this, call a public adjuster.
Yeah.
Because,
Thank you for that.
but it's true. And I've seen a shift in that even with some of the plaintiff attorneys where, they really feel that a public adjuster needs to take that file first.
Yeah.
And try to settle a good public adjuster.
Thank
like
you.
Monarch. But,
There's no gun under the table. All right.
But and we haven't worked together yet. But we were talking before. I think we will be soon.
Sure.
But and if we're getting involved, it's usually because the case has gone to litigation. And
Okay.
whether that can be the carrier just does not want to address what the public adjuster is bringing. Maybe the public adjuster is not even providing any photos or not documenting the reason. And now that a suit has to be brought.
Gotcha.
The plaintiff's attorney, I'll go down the plaintiff's attorney, is going to try and settle that case without going to court. How many times have we actually gone to court or testified?
I mean, between the two of us, twice.
Okay.
Well, I did a bench trial not too long ago, so maybe 3 times.
Gotcha.
So that's a good thing. And most, just for homeowners listening, just because your case is going to litigation doesn't mean you're going to be going to trial.
Correct. I've actually, in the 4 years that I've been a public adjuster, I have never had any of my cases go to trial. So, it's just because, thank you for bringing that up, Jim, just because a case goes into litigation, it does not mean that it will ultimately end up in trial.
Sure.
I would say probably 99% of the time it will settle way, significantly before that.
Probably even 99.5 or
Yeah.
99.9. It's
Correct.
As we're on call for like 4 trials this month. But
Yeah.
Have they been extending them because of COVID?
Yeah.
We'll find out. But this could be the year of trials too. So
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
it will be. But so now the plaintiff attorney may say, okay, they don't, for whatever reason, don't want to honor what the public adjuster wrote. We're not paying that. We're not this. We don't believe it. This, that. So now the attorney's going to say, okay, well, I'm going to get an outside contractor to come in, look at the loss, and write us an estimate. And that's what we'll do. And a lot of times it's not a knock on the public adjuster at all. There's new information. You come into a file a year and a half later, well, it's a lot different than week 1 or week 2.
Correct.
Demo's been done. Maybe there's some bid items. Maybe the roof has already been replaced.
Yeah.
Maybe more damage has been found, and instead of $50,000, it's $60,000.
Yeah.
And that's not uncommon either.
How often do you guys come across? You guys, I'm assuming you get a chance to review the public adjuster's estimate as well.
Yes.
Before providing an opinion.
Most of the time, yeah.
How often do you come across public adjuster estimates that are written poorly?
I mean, not that often, surprisingly. It's. You mean like as far as like accurately?
Accurately correct. Accuracy.
I would say my experience is less common in terms of accuracy. A lot of the PA estimates are put together well in terms of the sketch is accurate, rooms are done nice, the material that's being estimated for is actually there.
Okay.
I would say that's more the norm, but of course there's the exception where you're just looking at it and you're like, I can't even believe this is the house that they were estimating. That happens as well, but I don't think it's as common.
There's pricing issues. So if you just don't know that a certain item is way too expensive, or sometimes things are written for double than the actual market cost.
Gotcha.
I don't know if it's necessarily done on purpose.
Yeah.
Unless you have that physical experience and market experience. One of the reasons we do stay active and doing the work is it's changing. It's constantly changing. I mean, you see prices going up a lot now in the next couple of years. But I'd say the biggest thing that helps us with the public adjuster is documentation. So I have one public adjuster I do appraisals for. They do GoPro videos, excellent photographs, excellent sketches, excellent documentation. So we're able to settle those files well and go back and say, hey, this is what's going on with this file, versus something with no photos, no property,
No
floor
sketch.
plan, no sketch.
Yeah.
You're writing for a metal roof when it's shingle, that kind of stuff is. And I noticed a lot of that after Irma. I did a lot of defense work for a carrier in the Keys.
Okay.
And I would meet with PAs, and they would say, "Oh man, I'm so sorry," because they would come out to the file, and we were doing the re-inspection. I said, it's okay.
Yeah.
Let's just fix it. That's what we're out here for.
Exactly.
It's I mean, when you're getting an influx and volume of files,
yeah, mistakes are going to happen.
I hire estimators, the guys that just
we do that too. Sometimes if he wrote an estimate and then it's going to appraisal, I'll do the appraisal. We'll give each other feedback.
Gotcha.
I mean, I've gone into my own a year later. Man, I made a mistake here.
No, it happens.
It's humility.
It happens. It happens.
Sure.
Do you have to have something on your estimate that states that it's possible? It is an estimate at the end of the day, so it's
we have a
like a disclosure or something?
Yeah, we have a disclosure statement and an ending statement. It basically it gives us room for making adjustments and to fix any errors or omissions in our estimate.
Yep.
But yeah, I've sat in a deposition and he did the estimate and and maybe he's got 3 toilets in that the errors and stuff like that, you just have to adjust. And
one comes to mind is, I always do 32 square feet of drywall. And I think one time I did 32 patches.
Okay.
So, but that was the only thing in the depot. And I was like, I just owned it. I said, yeah, we can fix that. No problem. Stuff like that. It happens.
Yeah. It's a mistake. So
he has a saying, he says, what do we know about an estimate? It's wrong until you do the work.
Exactly.
And every estimate that's ever been written has been wrong.
Exactly.
Because it's an estimate.
It's never been 100% accurate. Right. I mean,
and that gets into having to actually perform the work.
Yeah.
In the estimate, you realize how sometimes when I first started project managing, you start to see you miss targets. In each construction company, a project manager has a target profit margin.
Okay.
And you're estimating to hopefully meet those targets. But when you first create the estimate, when you start the job, you're thinking you're going to meet your target. And then at the end, you miss it by 5-10%. You have to now go back to that project and say, where did I miss on my estimate?
Yeah.
Did I measure wrong? Did I misidentify the material that need to be replaced?
You can go back to the client and say, hey.
No, change orders are definitely a part of construction, but it's a change order is like, we opened up the wall, we found that the framing was all rotted inside. That's a change order because it was hidden from me. But if I don't contact my plumber before bidding the job and seeing if his prices have changed, and I just kind of go off his previous work that we've done together.
Yeah.
And I bid this job, and then I call him up and say, hey, I'm ready to do this job. I need the shower pan. 6 months ago, it was an $800 shower pan. Now he's telling me it's $1,200. But I can't go back to the homeowner because that was my bad.
Exactly.
So that's a ding on my margins for that job.
Correct.
But the next job, now I'm going to be at, I'm going to know. So
correct.
A lot of the stuff is going forward to your next job.
You guys are in a tough industry, man, as far as like the construction aspect of it. Just dealing with a homeowner, and I've gone through renovations, and I've self-contracted it in a way. That's a pain. That's a pain having to just not only manage the subs that are doing the work, but manage also the client and their expectations. Do you have, when you've done those types of jobs, would you say that you have more happy clients than not, or? Because I mean, the way that it is, especially here in South Florida, I find that our clients always have something bad to say about contractors, right? And I don't think it's so much. Well, it's a combination of the contractors sometimes, and also the clients that are, their expectations are unreal. But what about in your case? How is it different?
So, a couple of things. Most times, people are unhappy with how long it takes.
Gotcha.
Okay. Similar with the public adjusting business, right? I mean, how long is this going to take? And everybody's watching that 30-minute renovation show where they're remodeling the whole house in 30 minutes plus commercials. And we're in a very instant society now, right? You hit a button on your phone, and later that day, Amazon's delivering. It's not like that, especially when you have a building department involved. Sometimes it can take 3 months just to get plans on something.
Construction is very linear, so you can't skip a step. So
Gotcha.
it's very linear. It's progressive that way.
Yeah.
So some people think that you can just do 10 other things before you do the first thing, and no, we need to do this in a progressive way. And any hiccup in the schedule kicks it down.
Yeah.
It rolls downhill. So
I think it really comes down to just informing the client at the beginning of the project or before you start. We strive for that here. We try to let the client know of everything and anything that could happen. And even though we can't give them a set timeline, at least we tell them, look, typically this is what it takes. And then if this happens, then it'll take this much longer. But not leaving the client in the dark with what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's similar. Don't go, and I hear the same thing on a public, hasn't returned my call or responded to me in a month or 3 weeks. And it's the same thing in the contract. Hey, listen, we have a problem here. There's an issue with a manufacturer's product or this, and this is how we're going to address it. And it ain't going to get done in 3 days.
Yeah.
And again, is a client going to be happy that their claim is going to go to litigation? No, they're just not going to be happy.
Yeah.
There's certain people that are just never going to be happy. But there's certain things, and I see, I've seen public adjusters do this or heard of it. Yeah, we're going to get this done in 30 days. No problem. And you're just not being honest.
Yeah, you're setting false expectations, and that's
setting
the word.
yourself up for failure.
And
Exactly.
Same thing on our end. Hey, we're going to, remodel and reconfigure all your plumbing and electrical and everything and split this one large bathroom into two, and we're going to be done in 30 days. I mean, it could take 30 days to get the permit.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. It's just being upfront, being honest, being responsive.
And picking up the phone. That's a big one
emails.
for us. Yeah. Like you said, some clients complain about public adjusters not talking to them in a whole month or 2 or 3, whatever it may be. And I think I always tell my guys, just pick up the phone. Even if you don't have any significant update, just tell the client, hey, I'm here. Do you have any questions? I'm just checking in, making sure everything's fine. And that changes, the atmosphere 100% for that client. At least it lets them know that you're there if they need you, even though things are taking a little longer than normal.
Mm-hmm. So. And that could be tough in today's environment too, because there's no work day. I mean, things have changed even from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. They expect that response and that email, even if they send it on a Sunday or, midnight or, wow, so-and-so never responded to me. Well, when did you call them? Yesterday.
You need to set the boundaries in construction. There's, if they do have your cell phone,
they're going to bug you
at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, the paint's not right in this corner. You respond to them at that point, they're always going to text you 8 o'clock at night. So I learned, and some other project managers that I know, and I try to tell guys that work for me, set your boundaries.
Yeah.
Because the moment you do respond, not that you're going to ignore them, but if it is 8 o'clock at night and they're texting you or calling you, if you got to put that away, because otherwise it won't stop. But you follow up the next morning. Hey, I missed your call. Here's your text, and here's the answer for you.
Correct.
And you see how quickly that goes away. That stops.
Yeah.
But
I agree. Guys, we were talking earlier about things that can help a PA or can help the claim things that a PA can do that can help the claim. Documentation is one of them. What other things have you guys seen that could improve how a claim is handled?
Expert reports.
But I'm going to take this from the angle of doing a reinspection on the defense side. So if you're coming out, or your insurance company sending you out, or defense attorney sending you out, and you're maybe meeting a public adjuster.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've seen that they do well is, and sometimes I always can't do this, but taking the original payment from the insurance company.
Okay.
And maybe simply naming the rooms the same, right? If they called it bedroom 1, well, don't call it bedroom 2.
Yeah.
You call it bedroom 1. And mapping that property the same, putting things in the same order.
Okay.
Then showing what your disputes are. Hey, the original guy that came out here missed bedrooms 2 and 3. This is why.
Yeah.
These are the pictures. This is the documentation. That makes it very simple for us to take the picture, put it in, and add it. And
Gotcha.
say, because also too, that examiner, that insurance company, how many files do they have?
Yeah.
How many are they looking through? They're not going to dig through your stuff. The easier you can make it on them,
The better the outcome.
Right.
Most of the time.
If you're in like a living room and you're like, man, I would have called this a family room. I'm going to call it the family room. Like you got to avoid that instinct and say, you know what, let me just keep it to what that adjuster
Yeah.
did, and I'll call it a family room, even though it's a living room.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I call it the chameleon, right? They might have called it the girls' bedroom or west. Some of them do west, east, north, which actually is a good way to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm so bad with directions that when I see those, I'm like, I don't even know where I'm standing right now. Like,
But mirror that. Put things in the right order. You know, if they went from family room, if the original report was family room to bedroom to living room, even though it really shouldn't be in that order, do it in that order. So when they're flipping through or going through the iPad,
it's easier for them.
It can easier. They're not flipping through pages and this. And I think you're going to get better results. Not all the time, but you're going to get better results from that reinspection.
Yeah. One of the things that I tell the guys here and girls who are PAs is to try to hand the claim in a silver platter to the examiners. Don't let them call you to get the plumber's report or the estimate, whatever it may be. Just hand it to them all at once so they have everything on their side so that they can move that file. They're gonna grab it and put it in front because they know that they could close that one out quickly, rather than one that when they're waiting for you to submit the mitigation documents, for example. That file is just gonna sit there and catch some dust. So I agree with just having everything properly prepared and easy for them to review.
One other thing I've seen too, and I've had this experience, is kind of doing a reinspection for the carrier, and the PA maybe sent everything into the examiner, and I believe them, but they didn't send it to us.
Yeah.
So not only send it into the carrier, but either having it available to email, I know a lot of people use Google Drive, or print it out. So
Yeah.
they use a plumbing claim, for example. Hey, the plumber's estimate is this, and this is what he said he needs to do. I sent it to the examiner 5 times. I don't have it.
Yeah.
And now we don't have it, and I can't include it, or
Correct.
I got to leave it open. Where if I had it, I can include it in my report.
Gotcha.
So that's one tip for sure.
As a builder, how important do you think it is for a homeowner to be properly insured?
We got an issue with this right now with the fire. There's a home that we're involved in that people are grossly underinsured.
Yeah.
And
At a total loss.
total loss.
And now they're going to have to sell the house. And
It's a problem. It can be a real problem. They're going to lose the house, and the insurance company's already maxed everything out. All the coverages, law and ordinance, everything. They're underinsured, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be able to get redone without them either taking some type of a loan out. Or I see that you guys promote that, where you're reviewing a policy,
Yeah.
and also coverages.
Yeah.
Every coverage is different. There's a lot of exclusions now. It's a very big deal.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it. You can lose your home.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
You can
Jim
lose your
said you could lose your home.
You can
and
lose your home.
this is a specific claim that he's actually working on at this moment. Crazy enough, as much as we promote the free policy review, we don't have a lot of people taking advantage of it. Yeah. Insurance is one of those things that people know they need, but they don't realize why until something happens. Exactly, until they need it. So that's part of our mission, to bring awareness to how important it is to have coverages. Well, 2 things. It's them not realizing the importance, and them not having a good agent that tells them, hey, this is what you need, and do not go away from this. Like, don't go cheaper. I know it's a little more expensive, but this is what you need. Stay with it.
So to go back on that, we've been involved in some E&O lawsuits against agents, and that is something that agents should be aware of. I'm not an attorney or anything like that, but I'll put that nugget out there that that is an avenue that is explored in the legal community.
Yeah.
Funny enough, our father is an insurance agent in New York.
Okay.
And he specializes in commercial. And he does that too. He says all the time, especially in commercial policies. So many property managers, commercial property owners come to him with a policy, and the previous agent was price shopping them. And
Gotcha.
there's just, he points out, goes through the policy and will present them with still a good rate, but so many more coverages for things that they didn't even think about.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, but you see, your dad takes the time to do that.
most agents don't.
And I think a lot of agents don't. And again, I want to make sure that whoever's listening, I don't have anything against agents whatsoever. I have something against bad agents, which put their clients in really bad situations.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, I just want to do a little quick commercial here for us.
It's important.
Yeah. If you guys aren't sure if you're properly covered, contact us. We will review your policy for free. We have no interest other than making sure that you have the right coverage so that in the future, if something happens, you are covered. Whether you go with us or not, as your public adjuster, I don't care. I generally just want to help whoever is in doubt about their coverages and make sure that they have the proper coverage. So, they'll be taken care of in the future. So, are you guys homeowners?
Yes.
Free policy review? Do you
Yeah,
guys?
absolutely. Sounds
Sure.
good.
We could do a video on that.
I'm sure you guys have the attorneys and the other people that can look at it. I'd be happy to look at it too.
All right. I'll take you up on that.
And see what I can
got
come
a
up with.
rental property as well. You can look at that one.
I'll bug you about the code stuff, and then you bug me about the policy stuff.
All right. That's a deal.
Sounds good. Guys, is there any other topic that you guys want to touch on that you think it's important for us to discuss or for the viewers to see?
What is your perception? I know I touched on, we don't do a lot of defense work, but I know I kind of touched on that, but it's also the same when we go out and we get a plaintiff file and the attorney sends us, okay, this is all the documents, this is the public adjuster's report, and I've seen where the public adjuster can really, really help the file a lot.
Yeah.
And documentation, I think, is really big.
Correct. I
Taking
agree.
advantage of technology that's coming out, I think that's going to change and it's evolving
Yeah.
annually. What is your take when somebody comes out on one of your files, whether the plaintiff attorney sends them out or the carrier sends them out, whether it be a plumber or a contractor like us?
Yeah.
What is your feeling? What's been your experience, good and bad?
When the plaintiff's attorney sends them out, I'm all for it. Just please, yes. Typically, whatever that contractor writes, it mirrors without us asking them. It mirrors what we write, which it speaks to how well we read our estimates. So I always encourage it. Go out there and do your thing. When the defense attorney or the carrier sends out the expert or the contractor, I feel like they're not looking out for the client. They're just they work for the insurance. They were assigned that file by the insurance company, so they're going to write their estimate. It's going to be biased in a way, and typically it is. I'm not saying that you guys do that, but that's my experience with contractors that are sent as experts by the insurance company. I may be a little biased myself too, obviously.
Sure. No, and we deal with that sometimes too, where we're there for the plaintiff side, and the defense sends out a contract. I just had a conference call this morning with something similar to that.
Okay.
And yeah, it's almost like I haven't felt much of that pressure, but that pressure where you're there to write less, no matter what. Would you say that that's there? I haven't felt.
I think
it
it
too
has
much.
more to do with coverage issues. So a lot of times when I've gone out, I did one recently, fairly large home. It was a 7,000 square foot home. Insurance company is one of the more premier insurance companies. And it was roof leak, but related to this recent tropical storm.
Okay.
the roof is well into the six figures. I met with the homeowner had a contractor, so it was like me and their contractor, and he presented nothing for the roof, and I wasn't asked by the carrier to look at the roof. So he didn't present it to me as being damaged, and I wasn't asked to look at the roof. Also, the marble flooring throughout the home.
Okay. Ooh.
So, those two items alone are $200,000.
Yeah.
On top of the water damage that was in the home. And, I just presented it I'm not there for coverage. I'm not there to address those things that aren't being addressed with me. So I guess I knew they were an issue, but it wasn't my place to open up coverage without giving the adjuster the opportunity to say, hey, David, you're just there to give me numbers. Yes, I want numbers for the marble flooring.
Yeah.
Or yes, I want you to just give me numbers for the roof. Other than the water damage that I could see.
Yeah.
So sometimes when it's the not obvious damage, if we're not being told to specifically address those issues, it might seem like we're not paying attention to them or biased against them. It's like, that's really not what we were told to do.
Gotcha.
And it's not necessarily our place to make those decisions or open up coverage or unless we're asked. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a contractor. I'm here to give you what I believe it would cost to do the repairs.
Correct.
I really have no interest in the scope of work. I think there's two types of scopes. There's a macro scope and a micro scope. Ultimately, the macro scope would be like the overall coverages of the loss. And then there's the micro, like for instance, like a shower. So we know we're doing a bathroom. That's the macro scope. We're going to remodel the bathroom. The micro scope is the shower pan, the tile, the wall board behind the walls, all the little intricate items that make up the total claim.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more interested in the micro aspect of the loss and getting all the little details correctly, and let an expert give me the macro, like an engineer, say, okay, this is from the storm, this is from the storm, this isn't from the storm.
Gotcha.
And then I can go in and apply my microscope to it.
Well,
that's an interesting one too, working with engineers.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Well, I mean, I think it makes it a little bit easier when you have an engineer, because the cause of loss decision doesn't rely upon you guys, right? You're just providing an opinion on scope,
right?
And in a case like that, the one that you were mentioning, David. Well, I mean, it's gonna get a little tricky.
All right, go ahead.
But if, let's say in that case, the roof was the cause of loss, or not the roof. Let's say it was damaged in some way by the same cause, and there was no coverage on it. Is that something that you think you would have written in your report?
Okay, so
if it wasn't originally written, and at all, the roof wasn't included in there, and the carrier has not made a decision on that specific component, the roof.
Mm-hmm.
But as a contractor that the roof is the origin or the cause, would you have included it, you think?
So in that particular case, I really wasn't, there was no, the contractor didn't present an estimate yet. It was, hey, let's see what you're going to do.
Exactly.
Scenario. If he had presented an estimate with the roof, I would have addressed the roof. And if the adjuster on the file wanted an estimate on the roof, I would have included it.
Gotcha.
But because it wasn't claimed necessarily by their contractor, this was like an afterthought. I got a call later and said, hey, how come you didn't include the roof and the marble floor? Yeah. I said, it wasn't presented to me, and I didn't, think to include it.
No, and in reality, I mean, if the client would have had a PA, that those items would probably be there. But what if the client didn't intend on replacing the roof per se or the marble floor? They just wanted you to focus on, the whatever everything else was actually being claimed. It's
well, it depends on too. I think the assignment, and sometimes you'll get an assignment that says we only want a comparison on these items.
Right.
Exactly.
Or sometimes it's do not include the tile floor in this estimate.
Exactly.
And
I think in your when you're getting a reinspection from the insurance company, it might be maybe you send an email. What are you inspecting?
Yeah.
What are you reinspecting? What is the scope of the reinspection going to entail? And if they should be honest and say, look, we're just going to look at these 3 items.
Exactly.
You know, now at least you know that the contractor coming out there, because a lot of times they look at me and they're like, okay, I don't really know what you're here to do.
Yeah.
The PA will look at me and say, I'm like, well, I guess you got a loss here, right?
Yeah.
So like maybe if they knew what exactly I was going there to look at,
Yeah.
at least it starts in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know, it might be only there to look at the roof.
Yeah.
You know, why spend 30 minutes on the inside of a home when we know we're only there to look at the roof?
Yeah. And if I were that PA, I would say, look, I know you're here for this, but I'm going to show you everything so you could document it.
Yeah.
I think that increases the chances of it being addressed.
And I can't tell you how many times we go out to a file, mostly on the defense side, where nobody meets you, nobody knows anything, homeowner doesn't know why you're there, and you're kind of playing detective. We have the mindset that we're, whatever it is, we're going to try and help that homeowner.
Gotcha.
Whether it's, and sometimes by helping that homeowner is putting that estimate together as accurate as we can.
Well, even though you guys do, some work for the defense, I thank you for what you do for the plaintiff side. You guys step into the dark side sometimes, but you're mostly in the light.
That's kind of how I like playing it down the middle. We really don't. Never really wanted to be reliant on one discipline. If the claims business slows down, we can fall back on the construction. If the construction slows down, we can fall back on the claims. If defense work slows down, the plaintiff, not by any work of our own, it just sort of seems to flow that way. It's like when we get busy with construction, the claims seem to, it's almost like karmatic. Things just kind of move around. So I really don't rely on, we don't even put any thought into, okay, we're getting this much defense work this month. Great. Or let's try and.
We may lose this client if we don't write it this VPs. Then we
put
lose
zero
them.
effort into
Plaintiff or defense, but then we lose them. And it's happened.
Yeah.
It has happened.
Yeah.
I've been on phone calls with VPs of insurance companies and plaintiff and defense attorneys, and they find out that I used to be a public adjuster, and they don't call again.
Really?
Some of them like it.
And some of them like it.
They
Some
should.
of them like
I mean,
it. Yeah. I've got to testify on one, and it's for the defense, and it's they like that we do plaintiff work on this specific file.
Yeah, it doesn't. Being on one side or the other doesn't make you good or bad. I mean, it ultimately comes down to you as a person and what you know and what you bring to that file. And the fact, I think that people have been on both sides, that's an advantage to whoever that person's providing a service to.
Yeah.
But not everybody sees it that way. I think.
You'd be surprised though. There's a lot of. I mean, there's some insurance companies that call public adjusters. I don't know if you know that or not, but they use public adjusters to go out and assess certain types of files.
It's here in Florida.
Here in Florida,
Really?
yes. That is not common, but there's some guys that they call and say, "Hey, go out there and take a look at this. What's our exposure?"
Yeah.
And that happens.
We've had carriers adjust the loss based on the reports that we've provided, but we've never been called and asked, hey, in place of an independent for us to go out. But it's interesting you say that because that's an idea that I recently have been, messing with in my head. And I think it's possible
Yeah.
for it to be something more common than not.
Information is at a premium now, and whatever, if you can provide information to the carrier, to the desk examiner, I really don't think it matters who it comes from. If it comes from a really good independent carrier adjuster and he can put together a really good file, or it comes from the public adjuster representing the homeowner, if he can put together the best information and best file, I think ultimately that information is what's more important, than
Correct.
the title of the person it came from.
Correct. Yeah, it's just there's a I don't want to say misconception, but I'm looking for the word, the
Misperception.
perception or of that one side is good and one side is bad, and everybody kind of just feels that way.
Yeah.
But there's good people on both sides that can be objective about what they're looking at. So thank you for that, and I'm gonna look more into the whole. We're gonna talk later and see how I can be one of those PAs that insurance companies call on.
Yeah. You want your Christmas present?
Yes, please.
All right.
Let's go.
Christmas
All
in
right,
January.
let's see.
Christmas in January, yeah.
Guys, I would usually pop this right now, whatever it is, but I have another meeting right after, so
it's okay.
and I
You
have to
do
be
too.
sober for it.
Yeah.
All right,
Save
let's
it
see.
for next time.
Oh, you guys listened to the one that I said that this was my favorite, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome, guys. Macallan 12. This is my true favorite.
I enjoy it.
I love it, man. Thank you so much. Really,
Perfect.
really appreciate it.
And we're going to get a chance to work together soon.
I know we are.
Yeah.
I know we are. I think that I thank you for reaching out to me, and I like meeting people, and I always think that you can learn something from somebody else. And in relationships, that's creating a network in a sense. So that's something that I'm working on more now. Before I was more about me in the sense of like I don't think I need to know or to expand my network, but I see the benefit of that now. So I really thank you guys for coming today and just giving us some time and your thoughts.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I want to close out with what we call the rapid fire.
Okay.
Which is a few questions here that are more, so people can get to know you a little bit on the personal side. I've never done it with two people at once, so I'll do the questions, start with you, Jim, and then
Okay.
you, David, all right?
All right.
All right. So, Jim, when you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
I have two kids. They're 10 and 12. So
Okay.
they take up a lot of my time between sports and travel baseball, and my daughter plays golf.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I like to be on the water, boating or fishing.
Gotcha.
That's definitely something I like to do.
We have a lot of similarities there. I have two kids too. I like mine aren't in sports yet, but they will be. And I also love the water. What about you, David?
I have my first child on the way, so
Oh, yeah?
I've been spending a lot of my free time shopping for a baby's room lately. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Do you know if it's a boy or is it a girl?
I have a boy.
Boy,
Yeah.
congratulations,
Thanks.
man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I really wanted a girl for my second one, but
Good.
are you planning to have more?
We'll see how this first one goes. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
I think so. I think two is the right number.
if it's anything like what I was or how it was with me, and from what I hear from other people, the first one's great, and then the second one is not so great as far as like sleep schedule and the craziness. So
I can attest to that. Yeah.
you can attest to that.
Yeah, I had the
there
boy
we go.
first and then the girl.
There you go. Do you guys have any hidden talents, Jim?
Hidden talents? I'm good at networking. That's kind of one thing that, a new client will call into the office, or, David's like, this new attorney called. I'm like, oh, great, somebody to go to lunch with. Or
Okay.
I'm pretty good socially or meeting people. Or you and I actually met on a flight up to Panama City.
Correct.
First class, right?
Correct. I mean, if you're traveling for work and you're working so hard, why not treat yourself, right?
Why not, right?
So, what about you, David?
I play the guitar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so musically, I do that.
Have you ever been in a band?
No, just
No
just on my own.
Have you thought about being in a band?
I've thought about it, yeah, but
Did you have like long hair at some point, or
no, never on here.
All right, Jim, what is your lifelong dream?
That's ever changing, I think. But right now is being able to travel more. I like to travel a lot, but I'd like to, as the kids get older, I enjoy being mobile in this business.
Okay.
We
And you are, right?
I am, yeah. We cover the whole state. So like tomorrow I'll be in Daytona and Tampa.
Okay.
But I think that like a dream would be to be able to just travel the whole week. And,
Gotcha.
Maybe some pleasure mixed in with some business. One day I'm fishing, next day I'm doing an appraisal.
Gotcha.
You want to live in a van down by the river?
Yeah, a van down by the river. Yeah,
That's nice and simple, man. I like that. And you, David, are you going to join him in the van or separate vans?
No. Early on, I wanted to travel a lot, but now I'm more of a homebody. But
really,
yeah.
But did you get to do a lot of traveling already?
I did early on, and when I first started in this business, I said I was chasing hailstorms. So I was literally living out of my truck for the first couple of years in this business, going from Ohio to Denver, Colorado, back here to Florida, back to New York. I did some claims in Oklahoma for tornadoes.
Those are fun.
Yeah, maybe later on in life to get back to that. Once the kid is out of the house, maybe
you can bring them with you. And, have them do estimates.
Right.
I've taken my kids on inspections. And stuff. Yeah, we'll go to a family vacation, or if we're going to the West Coast for the weekend, we're leaving on a Friday. Like, hey, we got to stop here really quick. No, they just sit up front and get it done. And
exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I look forward to with my kids. I bring them into the office already, and it catches their interest what I do, and when I'm looking at an estimate or something like that. So I plan to have them get some free labor when they're like 12, 13, 14.
I actually had my son I got a claim right on my street from an attorney. So I hired my son to do the drone pictures.
Okay,
he got a drone for Christmas, so I paid him, and he did the drone photos.
Beautiful.
I think it's a unique career. Most people fall into this stuff. They don't. Yeah. And not in high school saying, man,
I wish it was
insurance claims adjusting sounds great.
Yeah.
So, it's in this business, you meet people from all different types of background and experiences, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. It's more common here in South Florida, the whole, adjusting thing, than it is anywhere else. But even so, not a lot of people know that we even exist.
Right.
So, and this is a really good career, for anybody that not only adjusting, but contractors or anything that revolves around construction and insurance per se. So, early worm or night owl?
I'm more of a night owl, but it depends on our workload.
Okay.
I can be the 5 a.m. guy if I need to be.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely more of put the kids to sleep and work from 9 to 12, or something like that. That's pretty productive for me.
Yeah. I don't know if it changes when the baby comes, but 5 o'clock comes around, my brain's shut off.
Shut off?
Yeah.
So you'd rather be up early?
I'd rather get up early, and that 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock time frame is when all my work is done.
I agree that it's super productive, but at least for a person like me, I'm just like a zombie from like 8 to 9, and then eventually I start, and if I wake up even earlier, it's a pain. And the favorite vacation spot?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm into Italy right now, even though I can't go. So went in 18 and 19, and hoping I want to get back. I want to get back soon. That's my favorite spot right now.
David?
Places I've been to a lot. Costa Rica, I like that a lot.
Okay.
My wife's from Colombia, so I've been there a few times. I actually like Colombia a lot. So South America, Central America, is great.
Okay, excellent. Excellent, guys. Thank you again so much. I really appreciate you guys coming, taking the time to come by. It's a bit of a drive for you guys, right?
Yeah.
It's just every day.
Yeah, true. So it didn't feel like much.
No.
But either way, I think the information that we've discussed here is going to bring value to all the viewers. So I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So as always, I thank you, the viewer, for watching us. And I really want to know what you guys are thinking about the information that we're providing. Please like, comment, and follow us. And I'll see you on the next one.